All right, everyone. Welcome to our soul session today, which is called Consciously Creating Your Career Path.
Is there any other way?
Is there any other way? Or do we want to blindly just do our career like we've always done, wait for opportunities, hope and pray that things will change? This specific episode, we're going to inspire you to believe in what you probably thought maybe before this lesson was impossible.
Yeah.
Big
No pressure,
taking, no
right?
pressure, no pressure. So we're going to talk about why people are settled for the wrong career, or they feel stuck in their career,
Yeah.
and why it's so hard to change out of it. And we're going to talk a little bit about life coaching, and maybe that is a possible career change for you.
Yeah.
So whether you want to be a coach or get a coach or learn more about Jungian psychology and coaching, we are here to answer all your questions. So we're here on Crowdcast. If you have a question, there's a button on the bottom. You can press it so we can answer it at the end of our chat, and say hello. Would love to see you and welcome you to this live discussion.
So can I start with the big picture?
Why don't we? I was thinking of starting with just a meditation.
Oh, that'd be great.
Really? Okay. So I want everyone to, if you're not driving, if you're listening to your car, most people are home, close your eyes for a minute. And I want you to just imagine a beautiful light above your head. And imagine that light just being warm, peaceful energy. And imagine that light moving down into your scalp and flowing all through your body and moving out your toes, just like a waterfall, just this beautiful, calm, relaxing light. And as you're holding your mind in that light, I want you to just be present to this moment. Imagine there's no past, no tomorrow, just right now. And in this space of just this moment, be open to the idea that anything is possible. Just contemplate the idea, anything is possible for me. Just notice how you relax just with that idea. You don't have to figure out how to get anywhere or do anything. Just be in that possibility. And I want you to bring that attitude back as you open your eyes, back into what we're about to share today, that anything is possible.
I like that.
So big picture, Rob?
Yeah. So I like the big picture. To me, it makes sense. That's the way my brain works. So the big picture is this: we as human beings have to undergo 3 separate births, not just one birth. The first birth, of course, is we're born as biological beings, as this body, and we start off as little babies, and our primary mission then is to survive, and we're good at it. We survive. We got here. Our second birth really begins in the process of entering the social world.
Like a teenager or even what age?
Yeah, it's a process
like
because
age?
it really begins when you
Kindergarten?
first go to school.
Yeah.
When you realize there's other people besides my family,
Mm,
right? There's a society,
mm,
there's social order,
mm,
and you have to fit in somehow.
mhm.
And that birth is the psychological, emotional, social birth.
So at first we're just surviving. We're learning how to like make sure we're fed and our diapers cleaned, and we're learning to walk and all those, how to speak and communicate. And then the second level is a social level. That's very interesting. That birth of your social life.
That's right. Jung called it the persona. We create a persona to go out there and interact with the world. And then the third one, which very few of us really get to do, It's a spiritual birth.
Mm.
Now, it's not religion. That's part of the social, part of the culture, part of the socialization. But the religious one, the spiritual birth is really understanding who you are, what your higher purpose is.
I love that. Yeah. That is really puts everything in very easy perspective.
Yeah. And if you don't go through these cycles, these kind of challenges that life sets up for us, mm-hmm. you feel frustrated. You feel out of sorts.
Do you feel, though, let me ask you a question. Does someone need to complete the cycle of social birth where they learn to socialize, where they're not, they're functioning socially in order to get the spiritual birth? Is that necessary? Because there's some people that are antisocial and they really can't make friends and they're really just having a lot of issues around that.
I would say you have to come to terms with it somehow.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to come to terms. You don't have to do it like most people are doing it or like anybody else says it has to be done, but you have to come to terms with it at some level.
Okay. And so when we are talking about career, we're not thinking about a career when we're 5 years old, but when we start going to kindergarten,
I wanted to be a pilot.
But that happens in kindergarten or preschool. We start thinking about, a lot of people ask you, even as a little 3 or 4 year old, adults always say, what do you want to be when you grow up, Jimmy? What do you want to be when you grow up? And for me, I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be on movies and on television, on videos, and I wanted to write books. And I even had a sign in my room that said, don't touch me, I'm a star. And I would and I was always—
You still have that.
And I would put on shows and I would be the one in charge of producing the shows for the kids that they would put on for the parents. And so it was always that kind of part of myself was there. And I always thought that was what I wanted to do. But then that didn't happen. I ended up feeling kind of going into socially what the herd expected of you and the people around you. And I think it depends. The social part really depends on who you hang out with, what part of where you live and who your friends are, because you could be in the same community and you gravitate to certain people and their path tends to match with yours. And then there are some people as you grow up where you kind of fall apart. You go to college and then you don't really keep in touch with people from high school, or, you go to college, you get a job and then you don't keep in touch with the Jimmy, the crazy partier in college. You're kind of outgrown, and we kind of go through those phases. But you do have a lot of influence from the people around you and the culture and the society telling you what you should do for a career, what you should do for a living, what your aspirations should be. Your parents also, or your family tells you what's possible for you.
Yeah. Well, if you notice, it's like a labyrinth, like an obstacle course that we have to run. Even birth, biological birth is difficult.
Yeah.
Like it demands a lot.
Come out crying.
Yeah, it demands a lot of us, the mother, everyone kind of pulling together to give you a chance to come out and experience this life. And it's tough. It requires everything you got. Your immune system has to kick in, your circulation has to come online as soon as you're born so that you take your first breath. Yeah, it's an incredible thing. Just like that challenge that's presented to us biologically, socially, we go through the same kind of obstacle course. The same challenges.
Kindergarten is really hard because then you start picking who you're going to hang out with. And then I felt junior high was the worst because you're kind of not a kid anymore. And then I'm a girl, so it was like we had to deal with the mean girls. The boys had to deal with the bullies, the beating up. Like we were emotionally attacking each other, where men, I think, physically attack each other in junior high.
I don't know what's easier.
I don't know. But the mean girls, it was all about what you look like and are you pretty and you're ugly or you're, nerdy, you're not cool. And then you end up hanging out and the smart kids, you're kind of gauged by how smart you are. And the cheerleaders gauge themselves on who's the prettiest, who has the boyfriend. And it becomes this it's a struggle of you're defining yourself again, not basically compared to what everyone expects you to be. And we kind of get lost in not knowing who we are. And like you said, the persona.
Yeah. So the whole creation of the persona, and here's the thing that we used to have, like in tribes and in kind of more traditional cultures, there were institutions that helped us navigate those challenges.
They had like rituals that would take you through each step.
That's right. Very important rituals. The church, the schools, guilds, and secret societies all were there to help us do those.
Were you a part of those secret societies?
I'm not saying it's got to be.
I had brownies.
Right. But now those have fallen away. Most of those.
Well, that's a really interesting point, because think about now, a lot of what's happening with COVID, a lot of kids don't have that social outlet anymore. They're being isolated from their students. So I wonder how that's going to impact them as adults. It's tough already to be a kid. It's tough already to, define yourself and establish your persona. And it's actually a necessary thing to do. It builds a strong ego.
Absolutely.
We have to have a strong ego to survive in the world. And I wonder how, I think 10 years from now, we're going to look back at this time, and the children and high schoolers and even in college, the kids that grew up in this time, like what kind of challenges are they going to have? Because they didn't have the same kind of sociological challenges we have right now with connecting and belonging and more isolation. And so it's really going to be interesting.
I would say that most people figure it out by themselves, right? They find some way to challenge themselves. It's either moving to another city and kind of testing out your wings and see how you do by yourself, joining the army, going off to college, joining a cult. Somehow people find a way to test themselves socially, psychologically.
And would you say that the goal of the social stage or the social birth is to find where you belong?
Yes.
So you're finding where you belong. And so that's a real strong, like, first phase is survival. Second stage is belonging and being accepted by a group. So that's why groups and communities are very powerful, to be a part of it. But then to break away from that is the challenge for the third stage, which is a spiritual stage, which Jung called leaving that herd mentality. The ego did such a great job of creating this persona, and now it has to abandon all that to become your true self. And it's like in Lord of the Rings, they left the Shire and they were going on this journey. And I remember that one thing. He said, if I take one more step, this is the farthest I've been from the Shire, which means the farthest I've been out of my comfort zone. And then that's the spiritual journey. That's a spiritual birth. And I feel like it always comes in a form of a turning point in our life, where we're feeling like we were talking about the consciously creating your career path. Why people feel stuck is this point, right? Where it's a choice point where we don't feel this whole thing that we built up is really what we want. We have this like deep feeling. It's like your soul is saying, what are you doing? Like, what about those big ideas you had when you were younger? What about your passions? And it's like you've been suppressing them and putting them away.
Jung says there's the unconscious is prompting us from the inside to become something else.
Yes.
Not to stay stuck in the social level. Now we don't want to get rid of the social identity,
and we don't want to get rid of survival. It's just that there's a higher level. Like you keep the two, but then there's another level.
There's another level, and if you don't do it, you're always dissatisfied. That's why people fall into addictions and kind of escape mechanisms, right? Or they're always looking to escape, and even the spiritual stuff becomes a way of escaping instead of really using it as a birthing process, as a new level of being.
That's a really good point. When I first moved to Colorado, I wanted to start over my life. I was in the wrong relationship. I was feeling I wanted to do something else, but I didn't know what it was. And I just said, I'm just going to move to Colorado. My cousin lived there.
Good.
I don't know why, but I just felt like just wide open space, get out of New York City. My cousin lived there. I adored him. We were like kind of brother and sister. And I remember meeting a lot of spiritual people. And I remember it was really everything I was learning was very all about escaping the past or getting rid of the past, getting, healing the wounds of the childhood and really rejecting everything that was built up to help me as a healthy person, as a healthy ego. But I still felt that I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And I think what happens is that I ended up just settling again. I was 29 when I moved there. And I kept settling in for 5 more years. I just went right back into marketing and working in the entertainment industry and advertising. And I just kept thinking, well, it'll come sometime. And I think a lot of people do that. They just wait. They're waiting for something external to tell them what to do next. Like something's going to happen externally. And meanwhile, inside, I felt this desire to write. Would write on weekends, but I never showed anyone my writing. It was just like, it was there. The seeds were there, but I just didn't have, it was almost, I didn't even think it would be possible to make a change. So it was like waiting for something to save me. Does that sound?
Yeah, because if you think about the 3 stages, right? The survival is really kind of creating your ego, right? You're defining yourself as I'm separate from the world and I'm myself and I'm going to survive as I. Then at the social level, you have to consider we. Like, what is my part? How do I contribute to the tribe, to the group? And
because you can't survive on an island. You need other people. Money comes through other people, bosses, coworkers.
And it forces you then to at least come to terms with the ego somehow, that there are others to consider. And then if you fall in love, then you really have to deal with your ego because it's not about just you surviving. Now it's we, right? Contributing these aspirational communal goals. And it gives people meaning. But a lot of people think that that's it, that's all there is to life.
If I'm in the right tribe, then I have meaning.
And that's not the end of the story. Life continues and then there's always more to grow and to know. And if people think that's all there is, that's when they get into trouble, because that's not where you're supposed to stop.
And so the spiritual level birth is the soul inside, that internal, something's not right here. Something is calling me to do something else. And I always felt that, like, we always think, oh, I don't like this kind of feeling of dissatisfaction or this feeling of frustration or this feeling. And we think it's actually a good thing for you to feel dissatisfied, because if we're blindly satisfied, we're not really truly happy. If we're always dissatisfied, we're not truly happy either. But the dissatisfaction is a sign. And for me, it was, you deserve more. There's more to life to you. And so when I believe that we all have something already in us that we've known from when we were little, or a passion or a craft or a gift that our soul was born with, to express and to experience. But the world most of the time isn't set up for us, most people, to express those gifts in the most positive, in the most expansive way. It's more survival. So an artist may have this great art, but now he has to, limit it to selling it and then creating commercial stuff. You see this with musicians. A lot of times they're really talented, but then they put them in the pop box and they have to do their pop hits to make, and they're really not satisfied. It's that dissatisfaction, and it's the soul saying, there's so much more to you. It's an awakening. And I think that when you're in that kind of 30s, that's the spiritual awakening time. Jung says the time of individuation is when we really get to feel that discomfort in a most intense way. It's like the midlife crisis, they call it a lot of times, but it really is the soul kind of saying, I can't play this game anymore. I can't play this persona game anymore. It's not working anymore. Like it worked for a while, but the soul is kind of like, come on already. You said you wanted to write a book. You said you wanted to help people. You said you wanted to do all these things. You say you want to sing. You say you want to draw. You say you want to do something big with your life. You want to have meaning. What are you waiting for? And it's that kind of, we don't listen to that voice because it's a threat to our social survival. It's a threat to that previous stage. It's, if I leave this tribe and I go off and I fail, then I'm not going to be able to go back to the tribe. And then I'm going to be really alone. And that's really the fear I think most people have. It's not that they're going to be poor, and not make money, but more it's the shame of failure or the shame of not making it. And everyone else saying, I told you so. You shouldn't have left that cushy job you had. You should have just stayed where you were. Stay like us. And I think that's really the challenge.
He says, Jung says this, look, it's a moral dilemma because of what you explained, that you belong to a tribe. And now you're saying you want to be something more than that. The rest of the tribe is going to say, who the hell do you think you are? You
belong with us.
Yeah, you belong here with us. You're saying you have ideas, you want to do something different. That's a betrayal to us, right? That's the way they read it emotionally. And so people back off and they say, I can't do it. I can't betray my family, my tribe. They're the ones that sustained me, conditioned me, supported me through college and all this stuff. Now I'm going to, do something transcendent. But you have to do it. That's part of the challenge here. Just like we have to leave the womb initially in order to become somebody separate from our mother. And then psychologically, we have to leave our families to become somebody socially distinct from our families. Now we have to become somebody distinct spiritually. The self. Jung called that the true self.
It's almost like we're anchored to the world in the biological and social part. Like the external world is kind of where we find our comfort. And we have to basically pivot our attention inward and find the big guy, the divine self, the true self within us, that unbreakable, unstoppable, unlimited self, and find our connection to that. You could still have the spiritual world. You could still survive in your body. The spirit wants to survive in the body. It doesn't want you to die because that's the vehicle you want to survive, to express it. But if it's challenging though, because a lot of people think I have to abandon the external in order to go to the spiritual. And some people want to bypass it. They think, oh, I don't want any money. Money's evil. Or I don't want a relationship. It's too hard. I'm just going to have a relationship with God. I'm going to be a nun and I'm just going to be a spiritual person, and I'm calling off and I'm keeping toxic people out of my life. And I'm just only going to surround myself with people who agree with me and are nice. And then we end up bypassing.
That sounds good. Maybe I'll do it.
But we don't understand that the people that we consider those distasteful people are really showing us something about ourselves.
That's part of that's part of how you prove you're ready for the spiritual life, that you do your social life well, that you, or like I said, that at least you come to terms with it. You're not bypassing it. You're not rejecting it, because if you reject it, that's just antisocial, right? You're saying to hell with everyone.
Or I don't want to deal with difficult people. I just want to deal with people that agree with me, that aren't difficult. And it's
you have to get it. Right? Jung says you have to get your hands dirty. Meaning you have to do life.
You have to engage with life. Yes, it's not escaping life. And I think when I was doing spiritual work, I felt like I wanted to just wall off myself from everyone and just be in my little apartment and put my music on and go to like my spiritual happy place and just spend the whole day with myself. But it was more like delusion of like me escaping versus me really getting to know who I was and to know life.
Yeah.
And so so we're born with these gifts that we want to express. For me, I felt like writing has always been one of my gifts. Just the way I can communicate I have a lot of ideas. That creativity was something very natural for me.
Got a million of them.
Yeah, but the thing is, when I went into a career, I just wanted to get married. I ended up being a legal secretary, which is the least creative. It was more of this kind of just surviving, and I was just waiting for my husband to show up so I can quit my job and have babies. Like, that was my plan. And then at 30, I said, wait, okay, there's no husband. And I did feel this like passion for writing. So I would just start writing this. I wrote this whole book. I still haven't published it, but I wrote this whole book, and I kept it for myself. And it was like my little thing. I was afraid to put it out in the world. It was almost like, it was just like a little, like a hobby, it wasn't really something I can express. I didn't have in me that it was possible for me to have a better life, to reach my dreams. No one around me told me, Debbie, you can be anything you want to be. Everyone told me, why don't you just pick a nice husband? Time's ticking. And so your social people around you, if you're around people that are up to something. And when I moved to Colorado, that was actually the one gift I had, was I started meeting people who are entrepreneurial. And I was like, oh, they don't have to work in an office. Like, that's possible. Like, you could have a job outside of a cubicle, and started to see that there's so much more that could be possible. And that's really, I think, where the shift happens, is when you start to believe that something else can change. But then my question to you is, how do we consciously create that then? How do we, first of all, we have to believe it's possible, but then how do we create it?
Yeah. We know that consciousness works on the principle of expectation. What we expect to see, we will see. It's an incredible thing. It has to do with projection. It has to do with the way we experience the world.
Cognitive distortions.
In a sense,
bias.
Our biology is set up to construct our reality from the inside. We do take in information from the world, but the world, the way we perceive it and the way we experience it, they call it qualia, the quality of life is an internal process. We're experiencing our own mind, our own creation of the world, which is an incredible thing. If you think about it, we are the creators of our own world. And once you start to understand that principle, then you start to say, okay, if I am the creator of the world, and then you reach that spiritual kind of borderline, or let's say the frontier of it, right? Where
the edge of the end of the world.
You want to go beyond your social persona self.
The threshold.
Yeah, the threshold. You want to go beyond. That's something is calling you to do that. Then you have to ask yourself, if I don't have to be who my parents told me I should be and who society told me I could be, then who am I? And that question is left totally up to us. We can create ourselves from our imagination, from our inspiration.
And when you make a career change, for me, what happened is that I had to shift my self-perception. First of all, initially I was a secretary. So I was like this submissive, low-level job. And then I became a director of marketing and was a boss and had a team. And so I had to make that like kind of persona shift. And then the next level is I had to leave that identity as a marketing director and become the teacher, become someone who is a hypnotherapist at first, a coach. It's completely, and so I would run into my old friends and they'd be like, oh, look at Debbie. She's she wrote a book on love, and she, was, I know her single life, they see me as that old persona. And to be willing to stand for who you're becoming instead of who everyone expects you to be is individuation. And I remember at our my book signing in New York City, and my family came, and I was thinking they all think of me as little Debbie, and just not doing anything great. And here I was, like a best-selling book, and published by a major publisher, and I'm New York City and Barnes and Noble, and hundreds of people there. And I had to, it was like weird, because it was like the people from my past seeing me as this other person, and I think that it is kind of bizarre. And I think people, it feels a little uncomfortable, because you're kind of being someone else. And I think our ego tends to want to be the person they want you to be, because it's part of being in that tribe. It's part of that agreement, right? Is that kind of why we want to stay back there? Because we feel we made an agreement with them that this is who I am, and now I'm changing that agreement.
Yeah, it's like Maslow and Erickson say that you have to meet these challenges at each stage of the game.
Mm-hmm.
There are challenges that you have to resolve somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't resolve them, there's always that pull to want to go back and fix them or deal with them somehow. But a lot of therapy is based on that idea that let's look at your childhood and try to fix it somehow or get back to resolving it. But those events are gone, essentially. They only exist in your mind.
And how you remember them.
And how you interpreted them. And in the Eastern philosophy, it simply says that they don't really exist at all. They're simply thoughts, right? Stories that your mind is holding on to. Now, they're very powerful. They do admit that they're very powerful, because you're giving them all the weight of your creative mind, and you're saying, this is what's real for me. And so we're always bringing the past into the present.
And so how do we know how can someone consciously create their career path?
As you start to understand that these are just thoughts, it is a narrative, it is an interpretation, you start to free yourself. You're not pushing it away.
You don't buy into the story anymore.
Yeah, because you don't have to push it away. If you understand its nature, if you understand that, it's not real, it's a way my mind creates meaning for me. And it's a way it connects me to past experiences and people.
But it's not who I am. This story, this experience doesn't define me.
The experience, the past conditioning, the sum total of your past does not define you, like Jung says.
And anything in the future doesn't define you. So if you create a business, it doesn't work. That doesn't define you. That doesn't make you more or less worthy than anyone else. But we tend to, in our world, I think the social structure of that stage is all about achievement and being recognized for our achievements. Yeah. Like in school and in society, if you get married at a certain time, you have children, you stay married. People don't leave their husbands because the shame of divorce. People don't leave their jobs because what if I leave and I fail and then I have to go find another job? What are people going to think? So I think, one is that we have to understand that that's our mind is always going to want to pull us back to what's familiar, this previous stage. It wants you to stay in that previous stage, but we want to cross the threshold to have our spiritual birth, which is living our true purpose. And most of us find that purpose. Most of us don't find that purpose when we're 20 years old. We find it when we face our true self. We have to have that spiritual rebirth or third birth to really live our purpose. And we have to come to terms, I think, with the social part, why we created the ego we did. It's not about jumping over the ego and getting rid of it, but it's like saying, I understand all the mechanisms and why it's there, understanding my patterns, but not buying into them.
Yeah, the way I see it, it's just like when we're in the womb, we need the environment of the womb to sustain us. It's actually what nourishes us, right, and holds us in that space. Then at the social level, we we have the culture that holds us in that space. Like it creates a bubble of reality for
Almost
us.
like the umbilical cord in early stages, the mother.
Yeah.
And then the world becomes our mother. We have our umbilical cord to the world, and the world is our sustenance, gives us our fuel for life.
Yeah.
And it's very powerless to be in that stage. I mean, at first it's, works for us because we have to function in the world, but then it becomes inhibited.
Yeah, it's a necessary stage.
Yeah.
We have to go there. Just like we can't be born without gestation.
We don't walk out
right.
saying, I can leave, I can do anything I want.
We don't just appear, in other
Yeah.
words. We go through a process that prepares us for life.
Mm-hmm.
So the culture essentially serves that purpose,
Mm-hmm.
or is supposed to serve that purpose, to prepare us for our spiritual life.
Yes.
But again, the mechanisms have often been lost now. The knowledge is kind of distorted or not there at all. And so we have to find our own way through it. Jung's work, the way he saw his work, was that he was trying to create a psychology that actually provided some of those mechanisms for us.
And so again, this isn't about having like something's wrong with you or that you have some wounds from the past that you have to come to terms with in order to have the things you want. This is a natural process, and the social building up of the persona is a necessary part of that process. And it's a sign of a healthy mind. Having defenses and having our patterns are all part of a healthy mind. It's just part, like we needed the womb. Now we need the womb or the world. And now we're breaking free and becoming spiritual beings. Now, why now? What do you think, because of this time in history, the challenges that humanity's facing right now, especially with the pandemic, why is it so important now that people need this kind of work, that need this transformation?
Yeah, there's always a clock ticking.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at some of the old Renaissance paintings, there was these beautiful scenes of beautiful people and beautiful clothes and art and beauty. But then off in the corner, there was a little skeleton with an hourglass to remind people we don't have all the time in the world.
And so really this time is really, I think a lot of people are asking themselves, what have I done with my life? For me, it's brought up all the places I haven't traveled yet. And now we can't travel. There's so many things I wanted to do, people I wanted to see, family members that I've been putting off traveling to see. And now I can't. And it's like, what life was passing me by, and what other things do I need to do with my life? And it does, when you're forced not to do the things, all of a sudden you want them more, right? And so I think now people are home, they're more internal, I think, and they're really ready for some change in their career.
Yeah. The Upanishads, Buddhist texts, have always emphasized life is impermanent. Life is, I think the way it's translated, that life is suffering, is not really the right way. What it means is simply that life contains suffering, right? That you're going to suffer. If you're going to live, the experience of suffering is almost unavoidable. It is unavoidable. But having said that, there are ways to work with it. And there's a meaning to the suffering, that it's meant to wake you up.
Yeah.
It's meant to give you a way to proceed.
They're catalysts for you, a calling. And a lot of people, people talk about clearing blocks. Like, I got to clear my blocks. And we don't see them as blocks when you're not getting what you want. We see them, the block is a bridge. It's whatever's stopping you, or you feel there's something in the way. It's finding what that is as a bridge to your true self, versus I need to get rid of this so I can have the material thing I wanted. It's how do I use this, whatever's resistance is showing up, as a bridge and a birthing, as a part of our birth canal to our spiritual self. And so, a lot of us, we talk about our life coach training, and I think that there's a lot of misconceptions. So what life coach training is, and I think life coach training, I don't think I know. Life coach training is the ultimate thing you should do, especially young in life coach training, because it's individuation. if you don't know your purpose or you're not sure what you want to do, but you know that there's more in you, it's perfect for someone who is in that stage where what's next in life? What is next? And so it helps you discover your purpose and see your potential. It's changing the way you perceive the world and yourself so you can create whatever you want. And so, there's misconceptions of that. A lot of people think life coaching is therapy, that you're going to help people with their wounds and their healing their traumas and their childhood. And no, life coach training is really forward focused. It's about how do you bring a high functioning individual, not someone who needs therapy. There's plenty of therapists out there. There's nothing wrong with therapy, and there's a place for therapy. But life coaching is about taking a functioning human being who just needs to understand their psyche, understand their patterns in a way that can be used to help them create the potential in their life, to live their potential.
To have that third birth.
Yeah, they're ready for that third birth. They're social. They don't have social issues or dysfunctions in that way. They're really, they're functioning, confident people, successful in their careers and built up great lives, but they're kind of dissatisfied and they're looking for that spiritual connection. Another misconception a lot of people say is, well, I have to work on myself first. I don't feel like I can help anyone because I'm confused. And the best way to help others is to teach others. And so there's always someone who knows less than you. There's always someone who's a little bit behind the process than you. So as you grow, there's people that you can help that haven't reached that stage yet. But you don't have to be enlightened. I think a lot of people think, well, I have to be enlightened. I have to have all the answers. And if I don't, then, why would people come to me, or they don't feel confident enough? It's going through the process of individuation helps you experience yourself. So then you're clear that when someone's stuck in their own stuff, you don't have to know why, the source of it, or all those things, and have them work through it. You have to say, well, here's the potential. And you're kind of moving them forward. And it's understanding the mind. If you understand your mind, you understand others' minds. You don't have to diagnose them or.
No, on the contrary, often the challenges that we have become our greatest strengths.
Yes.
Right. And I love what you said, that the blocks are really the bridges for us. Yeah.
And so people that come to you aren't looking to be fixed in our model. They're coming to find the bridge. And the coach is actually the bridge. The coach can show them, oh, wait, you're seeing this thing here and you're seeing it as a whole. I'm making a bridge for you. I'm taking you and I'm showing you the way to go up versus how to get out of that hole. Like you're already, it's not a hole, it's a potential. And, I see this all the time where I'll coach people and they'll be in this, life transition, whether it's job or career or relationship. And it's in that wrestling with the conflict that's happening is what gives them the fuel for their growth and for their enlightenment. And so you don't have to fix their problems. Another misconception is, oh, if I'm a life coach, everyone's going to dump their problems on me. And that's not your responsibility. You're not taking on people's problems. You're giving them solutions. So if you want to listen to problems all day, maybe you should be a therapist. But if you want to help people reach their potential and get them out of this past and move them to the present, seeing their potential, then you should look into coaching. Another misconception is that if you take life coach training, you have to be a life coach, that you just have to be a coach. Most people that take our training, actually, they don't end up being coaches. They end up using the tools in their practice or their company. Some become leadership coaches, leadership people in their companies. Some people take their beautiful talents of music and art and use the tools as a way to express that in a different way, helping other artists become successful, but they're not just life coaches. They're using it in a more creative way. And that's really what I love. Some of our coaches, the graduates, are medical doctors or in the medical field, and nurses and healers in that kind of traditional medical field. And they want to do something more spiritual and working with consciousness and mind body. So they're integrating the consciousness and the spiritual work into their work.
Yeah.
And so life coaching can be a bridge to bring in your gifts and talents that your soul wants, help you realize it through the process of becoming your true self, and then be able to fit it into something that feels right to you and fulfilling and meaningful.
Yeah, well, I was talking to a student recently, and she was telling me how incredible it was that we were able to fit like a deep philosophy in a practical way, right? That you can apply it where you're at right now, in whatever position or job you have, but you can also create a business for yourself if if you choose to. You're essentially working to free other people, to give other people the chance to be born at that higher level, and as well as developing yourself in the process.
And we do have our next training is starting September 15th. We are almost halfway full. So if you are interested, please contact us right away. I didn't put the link up here. We'll put a link on the replay if you're listening to find out more about it. You get a consultation with me. We could talk about it on Skype or over the phone just to see if it's right for you. And we have some great early pricing before September 1st and an extended pay plan. So the price, the investment, $7,500. And if you do the pay plan, it's $500 deposit plus 12 payments of $657. And that's going away September 1st. So if you are interested in getting that extended pay plan and you want to be in this cohort, we would love to have you a part of it. It's all online, so you don't have to leave your home. And you get to have private coaching with Rob and I. So it's really powerful. And you also get to be in a community of other women that are on the same path as you. You get to be inspired. It's like finding a new tribe. So you had your tribe that you originally came, and then this is a new tribe. This is a tribe of people that are going to inspire you as you inspire yourself.
Yeah.
And inspire others and really it's like a new family you become.
Yeah, I would say, given everything we know about the mind, our brain, our bodies, our everything, we need a method. So if you find our method usable, by all means, join our group. But if you don't, seek for another one, because you will need a method. Time, we don't have infinite time. And the way the mind works, we know is very tricky. You need somebody to guide you through a process, a method that has time-proven ways of getting you through the process, kind of letting go of the old self to find your true self.
You'll learn visualization, how to write visualizations, how to guide people through them that actually really work. Training as a hypnotherapist, I know the difference between the fluffy meditation that does nothing for people, just makes them relax, and actually ones that work with the unconscious to make the words you use and the phrases and the imagery you use can make a big difference. Also symbolism in those visualizations, active imagination. We're teaching you'll learn dream interpretation. So having dreams, bringing that in your life, anima animus, the masculine, feminine. We'll talk about the shadow work. Obviously, that's the first step. And then also the basic coaching. You're going to learn how to coach someone. You're going to get the very first session is the anatomy of a coaching session. Here's what you say first. Here's what you say second. Here's how you end it every single time. So you have a script already. So you're not flailing and making it up. You have a script to follow. And then we teach you how to do a free consult so you can enroll people in your coach training, how to build your coaching business, how to integrate your gifts and passions in the process in a powerful way. That's why you get the private coaching with us, because you could say, I love learning about animals. So how can I make this fit into my passion for animals? Or I want to save the environment. How can I incorporate my nonprofit environmental group into this process? There's so many ways to integrate. I mean, we have people that are working for philanthropists, making big social changes. We have one of our clients over in India, working with the gurus in India and working and inspiring women, leadership coaches all over the world. And it's so exciting to see the world. We are just starting. We've been doing this for 8 years, but we're just starting to, and I think the time is right more than ever for this type of coaching. I think the world has shifted in the past 6 months that forever will change, and people are going to be seeking something deeper. They don't want to just hear you can do it and, work really hard and believe in yourself. They want to know, who am I on a deep level? And here's the thing, it's that direct experience. I think that you can know the spiritual knowledge, you can read a lot, you can read Jungian books to your, the end of your days, but until you have a direct experience, it's just surface knowledge. It's not higher knowledge.
Yeah, book learning.
Yes. And you want to have that experience. So why now? Because this is actually the last class that Rob and I will be offering private coaching with. And the future classes will all be, we're going to have staff of coaches next year. So, this is a really great time to get that kind of one-on-one with us, to be in an intimate group. As our groups start to get larger and larger, it's not going to be the same experience as it is in September. So it's 6 months. It starts September 15th. There's a link. I put it up there now, Coach Training. Click on it. It takes you to our page. Find out more about the program. Click on schedule a call, apply, and talk to me. There's no obligation if you apply. Just get on the phone with me and let's have a chat. No pressure. And then we're going to go to questions.
All right.
Sound good? Okay. We got 4 questions here. Interesting. You were talking about childbirth. I recently had a dream in which I get married with animus and get pregnant with big belly. I'm giving birth, but the baby's not out. Animus holds my hand. Hermaphrodite person has a knife to cut the belly open. Wow. To prove I can trust him, he cuts his hand and lets the blood drip on my belly. Now I trust him. He has the skill set to perform the C-section. Then the urgency of childbirth and anxiety wake up at 2 a.m. Wow. What a powerful dream. That very archetypal, right?
Yeah. Dreams have that archetypal symbolic language to them. But giving birth, of course, is talking about precisely what we were talking about. You're giving birth to the higher self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The higher self in you, and the union of opposites is there. And
the cut is like the sacrifice.
Blood indicates sacrifice. In a sense, we're sacrificing our old self, the old self identity. We're leaving that behind.
And the urgency of the childbirth and anxiety. So it's your dream is, your spirit is prompting you that this is urgent. You need to do this now. And the trust is really important. Like he cuts his hand saying like, this is, I'm here for you.
To seal the deal.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. How can I give the spiritual birth faster and become super passionate and higher purpose and higher self?
Well, what's your hurry?
Yeah, that's a good question, right?
As long as you're doing the process and it's kind of working in you already, we should never be in a hurry. Because let's say the process is the destination itself.
It's the journey is where everything is.
Yeah. It's really not a destination, but it's a journey.
Isn't it also a misperception that you're not already the higher self?
Yeah.
That if you're in a hurry to get there, you're assuming that you're not. So if you assume that you're already there, then there's no hurry.
Yeah, there's no hurry. And these are important elements that you're living through right now. You want to savor them. You want to be happy in them. You want to be grateful for them, and not just rush through them.
Yeah. I used to think when I first started as a hypnotherapist, I remember thinking, I'm so I can't wait till I'm really good at it and really confident. So I could, be farther ahead than just a newbie. And I started saying this mantra that I learned is every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. And I just started to kind of accept the fact that I'm becoming, that it's a process of becoming versus there's a finish line. So it's like knowing that everything I'm going through is leading me to everything I want all the time right now. So that would be a good mantra for you. Taking the Jungian life coach training will absolutely help. You can't do childbirth alone. That's true. There's a lot of people that want to do it on their own. It's really interesting is that a lot of people think it's weak to ask for support or feel like they have to, kind of hire a coach. I've heard a lot of clients that I've spoken with over the years. They're very successful and they're like, I don't need a life coach. Like that's for people with problems. And it's like, no, it's actually more, it's very brave and courageous to hire a coach because they're actually going to push you to go farther than you would go on your own, because the ego will always win. It'll always have excuses. And if you don't have a coach, you're going to believe in all your limitations. You're going to buy into them and it's going to take forever.
Yeah. Well, if you look at, for example, the wisdom that's in the Upanishads, if you try to accumulate that yourself, it would take 1,000 lifetimes to do that. Just working on the mind continuously. 1,000 lifetimes. You don't have 1,000 lifetimes. You can get it from this wisdom already and then go further on your path.
If being a Jungian life coach means you are directing your work towards people who are competent and successful, how does that relate to wanting to train as a coach while being someone who does not need therapy but keeps coming back to young? I don't know if I understand the question. Well, people are competent and successful in their current career, but they're dissatisfied. So a Jungian coach actually helps people help them find out beyond just what the ego created and help them step into something that scares them, that taking a risk to go for really what they want to do.
Yeah.
I think that's what someone who does need therapy, wanting to train a coach while being someone who does need therapy, but keeps coming back to young. So someone who needs therapy wouldn't really be someone who'd want to get coaching. So they're different, right?
Yeah, we wouldn't recommend it for people that are, let's say, severely depressed.
Yeah.
They need therapy. They need to work out something about their mood disorder, perhaps. And there's nothing wrong with that. And then once they work that out, they're ready for this process. Because this process demands that you bring everything you got to the table.
I also think some people think they need therapy, but they're just suffering from basic human problems. They think too. I'm insecure. I'm doubt myself a lot, or I'm emotionally, sometimes I can't manage my emotions, or, like I get sad, but it's not clinical. And so they think, just because they have a disruptive mind that they need therapy. And so that would be a question too, is do they really need therapy? Are they, have a personality disorder or mental illness or something like clinical depression? Or are they just not sure of, their life? And there's a lot of successful people that are insecure. There's a lot of successful people that make a lot of money, but they're inside, they're feeling this kind of insecurity, or they haven't, a lot of women sometimes I work with that are really successful in their career, but don't have a relationship, and they feel something's wrong with them because of that. Right. So that's not a therapy indicator of therapy. That's more like, let's really discover who you are.
Yeah. The line in the sand is if you're willing to accept responsibility for your life, you can do this kind of coaching.
Okay, those are the questions here. Awesome talk. Love it already. I feel like the soul says, you say you want true love, but you keep holding on to dating from persona. You settle for mediocre relationships, or you escape. One of my ways of escaping is to study more books rather than get out there and get triggered.
Oh yeah. That was my way of dealing. But it got me a couple of degrees, but you still have to do the internal work. And the internal work, it's the best part of your life. It's like going on this great adventure.
I know, it's so great.
Yeah,
I let it. It's not like going to the dentist office.
no,
A lot of people think, oh, I got to go talk to my coach now. I used to get so excited when I first started coaching. It was actually the powerful thing I did before I met you. I had a coach for my business, a business coach. And it was so great to have someone I checked in with every week that kept my mind would get worried, or, even just, and she wasn't even a Jungian coach. She was just a basic coach, and she helped me a lot. So imagine a Jungian coach where they understand the unconscious and all those things. So yeah, I've always had a coach, and I always feel that no matter how high I grow, or what level I could grow to, there's always someone that can teach me something that I don't know. It doesn't mean they're higher or lower than me, but they have an aspect that I haven't learned yet. And so everyone can be my teacher in a way. And it's about being open to learning, and opening to let someone teach you. And then being a coach, you're really, it's so rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're inviting someone in to become who they were meant to be, in such a beautiful process. I would like to explore the fear of leaving the tribe. It's definitely in some way. Is there some book I could read to explore the dynamic behind the emotional fear? A hero's journey?
Let love in.
Let love in.
Joseph Campbell has some great stuff. The Hero with 1,000 Faces. Jung has Man in His Symbols. Viktor Frankl's, what's his book?
Man's Search for Meaning.
Man's Search for Meaning.
But I think, if you set the intention, look at hero movies about heroes, feminine and masculine. And like Wonder Woman, or woman power, she had to leave her tribe. She was raised as an Amazon. The mother tried to keep her safe, but she had these special powers, and she knew she had to leave the tribe. And the mother said to her when she left, if you leave, you can never come back. And she went on her journey with the man and the inner Adam. And so if you look at those, and you look at the hero, and you understand the dynamic of the big picture, sometimes it helps you see, oh, wait, I don't have to be afraid, because I'm on the hero's journey, the heroine's journey. So that would be a great movie to watch. I mean, Star Wars, the girl, the new one, the girl that's the Jedi now. I'm like, I love superhero movies, but it's really cool. Like, she was in that little town and was the little girl, the orphan, and she had to leave. She was forced to leave. Something happened, and then she had to really discover her powers and who she was. And that's really what we wanted. The fear is the ego afraid of your own power versus afraid of failure. We're more afraid of who we're becoming and the greatness that we are than we're afraid of failing. And we just misperceive it, because in our mind, our perception, right, we don't believe it's possible to succeed. So we only see the downside of stepping out. And I was telling that to someone yesterday. What would be possible if it worked out? Like, think about the possibility versus what can go wrong. Like, a lot of people, we always think the ego is always looking at, how can I do that risk management? And the divine self is saying, how can it go right? So that would be a good way to work with it. So it's acknowledge, it's not getting rid of the fear, it's understanding its nature. So I think a lot of people, they think there's something wrong because I'm afraid, but it's actually, you should be afraid because if you're afraid, that means you're moving out of your comfort zone. That means you're moving towards something.
Yeah, the emotions are interesting. We teach that you should not push away any of the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
The fear is always that they'll overwhelm you, right? That you won't be able to handle the fear or the anxiety or something. But if you learn their nature, if you understand what they are, that they are these temporary apparitions, almost like the weather.
Mm-hmm.
The sky is always blue, it's always clear, it's always beautiful. That's our true mind, our true self. Then the clouds come, storms come, and they're always moving, just changing, passing through. And as soon as they pass, the sky is back again.
Mm-hmm.
It never really left. It's always been there.
And the sun is always there too.
Yeah.
The sun is always there.
That's our true mind.
Let's see. Deborah's visualization made me cry, and I have lucid dreams. I tried on doing it on my own. It totally backfires. Money is an excuse, and I actually waste more money on things that don't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true. Like everyone's like your ego's always going to look for that quick fix. If someone says they can help heal you in 15 minutes, your ego's like, yeah, because it's drawn to things that it knows it really won't work, and it's not going to challenge you. The ego will automatically resist anything that's going to be a threat to the ego. Now, here's I think the most important fear, the misperception is that we're afraid, or we think because we're afraid that something's wrong. And the ego's telling us danger, danger, danger. But we have to realize that we're not the ego. The ego's afraid, but my divine self is saying, we're going to really do something here. We're up to something. So it's about understanding that the fear is not an indicator of something bad happening. Maybe when you were little and you were afraid of, running in front of the street and all those survival things, or breaking away from the tribe when you were younger. I mean, that would be, how we conform with the group. Those served us. But after a while, those fears, they only end up limiting us in the end. They don't help us. They help us survive, but they don't help us really become who we're meant to be. And that third birth. So let's review real quick. I love these three. Before we go.
3 births. We're born biologically. We need a body to, we're spiritual beings in having a human experience. So to have that human experience, we need this body, and we're born biologically. We're baptized by water. Then we're baptized into society, kind of into the social order of things. We're socialized. We have to dominate our wildness, right? As children, we're wild. We have to tame the wildness in us in order to coexist with others and get along and contribute. But we don't want to stop there, because if we stop there, then we feel that imposter syndrome. We feel that we're not really living our full potential, and we become dissatisfied. The third birth is the spiritual birth. We're born and baptized by fire, by the fire of the Spirit. And it's really our higher purpose. It's where we find who we really are, the true self, as Jung says, and as the Upanishads say. Our destiny, let's say our human purpose, is to become and realize this higher self in us.
So you heard it here first, folks. Rob, what a wonderful segue and ending to this wonderful talk. And so whether you want to be a coach or want to do what you love, we encourage you to go for your dreams. The best way to, those of you who are single, the best way to find love is to do what you love. I had to step into my true self to find my true love. It didn't happen by me being the old pattern. I had to evolve, metamorphosis into this being that I am today. And it's a growth process that's constantly evolving. It's who we are is not fixed ever. And it's great because we want to keep growing. We want an interesting life. And the more we, like you were saying before, the Tao says that the more you use it, the more it gives you back. And that's what this process is about. The life coach training is just the first step for your new life. So if you're ready to begin a new life, we invite you to be a part of it. Be part of our group September 15th. The button's below, and we hope to see you then. One more question. Can we please talk about the money mindset you teach in the life coach training, about how you shifted your money story? We all have money conditioning, and how shadow work can free up the money flow.
You take that one.
Well, a lot of people think that your money beliefs are about money. That it's, I believe money's not there. And I know I see so many coaches talk about changing my beliefs around money, but it has nothing to do with money. The shadow is to become the person that has the money you seek. that part of you, your ego's afraid to let out. So you have to find out what is that aspect unconsciously that you have to become, or that you resist becoming, that would give you the expression of having that money. For me, it was all about pleasing. Like I had to please everyone and I had to be a nice person. And that led me to doing a lot of things for free and not charging enough and all those things. It had nothing to do with I didn't deserve money or I thought money was bad. It was more like I wanted to be liked. And so in a way, I had to step out and risk being a business person, being charging more money, and establishing boundaries with my clients and how I work with them so I could be successful. And that had nothing to do with my money story. It had to do more with who I needed to become. And that transformed. Every time I work on that aspect of my shadow, it keeps bringing me more. And it's not that you get rid of your ego. Your ego is always there. So it's going to always try to get you back or make you feel guilty. But you have to understand that's your old self and that's not who you are anymore. And the more you work with the process, the easier it becomes. Now, for those of you who just want to work on success, we also do have our retreat that we'll be talking about in a couple of weeks. We are doing a retreat in October. So that is actually a really great way to work on the abundance and shadow work and stuff like that as well. But we do teach it in the course. And what it does is it changes the way you see yourself as a successful coach. So it's not about, so many years I've spent so much money on marketing and business coaches thinking they have some secret plan or secret path, secret formula that's going to help us succeed. And every single time it was our minds. It was our mindset. It was mostly my mindset. Rob has an abundant mindset. It was my mindset, and that would get us to the next level. And it didn't matter. The marketing really didn't matter. We had to do it because we have to, put ourselves out there in order to receive, but it's not the cause. The cause is the mind. The marketing is the way that is the effect of the mind. It's only going to work if you work it in your mind first. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like if you have the space for it in your mind.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to, what do you believe is possible? And who is the person that has what you want? And are you her right now? Can you identify? Can you relate to the person that has all the success you want in all areas of your life? Holy, this is so good. Thank you, Allison. We wanted to make this a short one, but I guess it's such a juicy topic. You can never make it short with us. So thank you for joining us. Those on Facebook, if you want to check out the questions and watch the replay, you can register on Crowdcast. And we will see you next week for our next soul session. We really hope you take it to heart and join us for our next life coach training. Our mentors are in the group. They can talk to you about it. If you have a question, they can tell you what it's like and what to expect. If you ever wonder, is this right for me? There's some testimonial videos that I posted, interviews I did with other graduates as well. It's the journey of a lifetime, and we want you to be a part of it.
Yes. And if this is not for you, find your home, find your spiritual path, because it is the only worthwhile thing that we do in life, really. At the end of it all, it's what will give you meaning, purpose, direction, everything. So thanks for the great questions, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Take care.